2002. Some of you may know him. He's a good friend of mine. And he was really the one that introduced me to the whole education reform movement. And what I knew about it before I went to work for him could be fit into a small shot glass. Okay? So it's been a steep learning curve for me over the last 10 years. And I tell you, there's just a tremendous amount of stupidity and circular logic in this whole environment. And it is just not rocket science to figure out how to teach children the basics.
So your answer is nobody ever checks this?
Well, people look at it, and there's the normal of gnashing your teeth and pulling your hair.
Have you ever heard of anybody doing it? Do they come up with a conclusion?
No, the college board wouldn't do that. They just do the testing.
And the difference between the ones. Is there more money involved there than there is here?
Oh, no.
Not necessarily, right?
Oh, no. Matter of fact, the United States spends more per student than almost any industrialized country in the world, and yet our scores are in the tank compared to.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to start somewhere. We're starting in the United States.
Oh, there's more likely an inverse relationship between the amount of money spent. The worst performing school districts in the country are some of the highest spenders. Washington, D.C. spends $23,000 per student. It's a dismal. It's one of the 2 or 3 worst school districts in the country. New Orleans was until the hand of God wiped out all of the buildings, and now it's all a bunch of charter schools. And we're going to have to wait a little while to build up some testing evidence. But there's no doubt in my mind that New Orleans is going to disappear from the bottom 10 list just because they have an entire accountability system in place now, and some of the most high-performing charter school operators in the country have come down there and opened. Plus, they've got nowhere to go but up. I mean, you've got kids there that are so low on the performance scale that it's low-hanging fruit for most of these highly competent charter school operators. I mean, they're getting 1.5, 2, 3-year academic gains out of these kids because nobody's ever sat down and really taught them. And young kids are sponges. They're ready to go.
Well, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is the now I've been hearing, and I've watched you. I worked with you up at the Capitol.
What the heck happened in Fossil 2011?
Rain.
Well, you survived.
Well, actually, it's because of this part.
You volunteered.
Yeah. Okay. I worked.
I know as
I was
much
the
as I
MC
did
this
before
year.
I asked that question.
I was the MC this year.
Okay.
I was curious about the OEA's involvement in the right to work areas, because I know that there's a real heavy push by the unions on right to work states to try and unionize them more.
Right.
I know the OEA is sticking their nose where it doesn't belong in other areas, like House Bill 2792, 2797, and so forth and so on,
Right.
which had nothing to do with it, with them. How much difference is it going to make with them getting involved in these other areas? Going to be to break their back so we can get more charter schools or get the education back up to the level it's supposed to be.
Look, they're the most powerful special interest in the state. They generate about $33 million in union dues in a 2-year cycle.
And I've been in unions. And
They aren't the 800-pound gorilla in the room. They're the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room. Okay. So the public unions are very strong in this state. They don't really have much of a counterweight of any kind. And no one had ever defeated the OEA until we did it this session. So at least we proved that they're mortal. Because a lot of people have been running scared from them. I mean, there are a lot of people just have given up. They won't even pick fights with them anymore because it just seems so impossible.
Well, the Senate caved into them left and right this last session.
Well, the Senate is controlled by Democrats.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was the biggest problem.
This organization writes big checks. It owns the Democrat Party lock, stock, and barrel.
Bonamici, Green Lake, those.
All right, look, you can say whatever you want about what I just said, but I have served there now for 2 terms. I have conversations with Democrat elected officials down there. They will tell me things in the lounge they will never say in public. They are afraid of that organization. You have no future in the Democrat Party if you cross the OEA. You have no future. Sarah Gelser has any ambitions to be something more than a state representative. She's not going to cross the OEA. They've done this before. You'll remember the PERS reform in 2003. You ever heard of a guy named Greg McPherson?
Yeah.
Most of you probably have not, and that's because he helped to write the PERS reforms. He was a Democrat, and all the money went to a guy by the name of Kroger. Have you heard of him? He's our Attorney General now, and McPherson is not. There was a lady by the name of Vicki Walker from Eugene, who was the chair of the Senate Education Committee. Did not deliver on everything the OEA wanted out of the Senate in 2007. She ran for Secretary of State. The OEA endorsed a woman by the name of Kate Brown. Have you heard her?
Yeah.
She's the Secretary of State now in the state of Oregon.
Yeah, Walker.
You do not cross these people if you're a Democrat and you want to go somewhere in politics. So they spent $55,000 against me, I can cross them all day long. Yes, sir.
Wait, speaking of Sir Gilser and your colleagues, last time there was quite a push to try to get somebody to run strong against Sarah down here. Are you guys going to be working to try to get somebody to run again, and also you're going to put in as much effort to try to get control of the House? Because I know how good you've done with the tie, but one more isn't going to be good enough. We want to do what we can down here, and want to make sure that you guys are working on a plan to